It's always so funny, you know, my eye goes lazy or something like that, you know, in the middle of that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Francis Kelly, the Grand Knight of St. John de Matha Council, Knights of Columbus in Hyattsville, Maryland. And tonight we have on our Knights of Columbus television program Mary Conway, the editor of the Catholic Islander, the newspaper from the Diocese of St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. As you know, just recently, St. Thomas has suffered a tremendous amount of destruction because of Hurricane Marilyn. And Mary is in the mainland here in the Archdiocese of Washington in order to explain to the people of the Archdiocese and the people in the general area about the destruction to the church properties and to the people in the Virgin Islands, and to give us a graphic description of her adventures during the hurricane. So now I'd like to introduce Mary Conway, the sister of one of our Knights of Columbus in our council, St. John de Matha Council. Mary, here you are. So nice to see you.
Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for inviting me this evening.
What day was it that the hurricane came to the Virgin Islands?
Maryland came to us on September 15th, hitting St. Croix first, the Feast of Our Lady of Sorrows. And it was a sorrowful day for the people there. After hitting St. Croix, the eye of the storm traveled towards St. Thomas and St. John and devastated the three islands, passing on the morning of the 16th.
Dear, and how did you come to be living in the Virgin Islands?
Well, I used to work for the Catholic Standard newspaper for the Archdiocese of Washington, work I enjoyed very much, but I was lured to the islands by a good friend of mine, Bishop Sean O'Malley, who served here for many years, was named bishop down there, and finding that there was no diocesan newspaper, he asked if I would go down and start one. So I went down in 1986, living first on the island of St. Croix, being there during Hurricane Hugo a few years later, and then moving on to St. Thomas, where we've been producing the paper since.
And the Virgin Islands, just exactly where are they?
The Virgin Islands are part of the Antilles string, and if you come down from the Florida Keys, you come first to Cuba, then south to Haiti, Dominican Republic, then Puerto Rico. St. Thomas is about 40 miles east of Puerto Rico, with St. John very near to St. Thomas, and St. Croix about 35 miles southeast.
Was Hurricane Marilyn your first hurricane?
I wish it were, but I was on St. Croix for Hurricane Hugo in '89. That storm destroyed about 90% of the buildings on that island, and for months afterwards we were without electricity, running water, telephone service. It was an extremely stressful and difficult time.
So you've been through a major storm already once and have some experience in recuperating from that kind of disaster.
Yes, but for those of us in the islands, it seemed that Maryland was even a bit stronger than Hugo. Perhaps from a personal perspective, I would say On St. Croix, I was in a more secure building, a former convent
Mm-hmm.
in the storm, very well built. On St. Thomas, I was in a basement apartment under the bishop's house, and most stories of that house got flattened.
Wow. When was the house originally made? Was it made of very strong construction, or was it a little bit substandard construction compared to our construction here?
On top of a very secure cement basement, the house was mostly prefab for the interior,
Mm-hmm.
and the construction just didn't hold up. As very little held up, the house was not the only one in the neighborhood that was flattened. The whole north side of the island was destroyed, as well as large parts of the rest of the island.
My goodness. Now, the Virgin Islands, they were originally found by the Spanish, correct? Where did they get their name, Virgin Islands?
Well, Columbus is the one who landed at St. Croix on his second voyage, and he was the one who gave them the name of the Virgin Islands after St. Ursula and her virgin companions. He looked around and saw all these beautiful green emerald-like islands in the midst of the Caribbean, and he said they were like the myriad virgin companions of St. Ursula.
What a beautiful story. What is the relationship between the Diocese of St. Thomas and our Archdiocese here?
Washington is the metropolitan see of the Virgin Islands, with the Virgin Islands therefore called the suffragan see. And so Cardinal Hickey is our metropolitan bishop, and he and his predecessors have taken a great interest in and concern for the islands. And in fact, he was one of the first to send out the SOS when the storm hit to begin the relief effort.
As you came out of your house after the storm, what did you see at the? Can you describe the situation in the islands as you came out from your shelter?
I think many people have seen movies of World War II, bombed cities, where there's destruction all over, where the very leaves of the trees are gone. That's what it looks like. The salt from the sea was blown over, blew off the leaves, major branches down. All our electrical poles are down. Houses are piles of rubble. You would see people in shock, looking around as if emerging from bunkers, because all the landmarks are changed. You can't even say, oh, if you want to go to their house, you make a left, down at Sibley's place, because it's not there anymore. So it's a very eerie feeling, almost as if the world were ending.
And when you came out of your shelter, also you went. It was a Sunday, right? Is that correct?
We were able to come out on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
To make our way to the nearest Red Cross shelter. Sunday morning, very early, those of us at the shelter near Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church took ourselves as best we could up the hill for Mass. And as it happened, the priest wasn't able to get from the other end of the island by 6 o'clock to open the church, and so we went into the cathedral. People gathered there, mostly in the clothes we were wearing during the storm, because we had nothing else to change into, or we had no place to change. There's no washing water. We just brought ourselves to church. And the theme that day in the churches around the diocese was, thank God for life. And those are the hymns we sang, to be alive. And there was a lot of rejoicing just in seeing one another. You're safe. You weren't crushed. You weren't blown out to sea. Thank God. We may have lost everything, but God gives us life and he sustains us.